Konnichiwa and welcome to episode 38 of the Leadership Japan podcast. And I'm your host in Tokyo, Dr. Greg Story, president of Dale Carnegie Training Japan. And much more importantly, you are a student of leadership, highly motivated to be the best in your business field. If you'd like your own access to 102 years of the accumulated wisdom of Dale Carnegie Training through free white papers, guidebooks, reports, training videos, blogs, course information, plus much, much more, then go to japan.dalecarnegie.com. Today's topic is you can't cold call in Japan. Really? The pressure for increasing results is not constant. It just keeps surging higher, faster, further. The sales team do work hard. They are polite, conscientious, quite customer focused. Great. So why can't we grow sales fast enough to meet our targets? Where and what is the problem? There are some simple reasons that's not happening. Current customers, number-wise, are too few. Current customer volumes are not growing. Current customer share of wallet is not changing. Sales in organizations will often blame marketing for not generating new leads for sales to go after. They will be surprisingly terrific advocates for all the reasons the customer puts on the table about not being able to buy at all, buy now, or buy more. Blaming everyone else for insufficient sales volumes is a well-developed skill here in Japan, and everywhere else salespeople walk the earth. Helpfully, you pipe up with a shiny idea. What about going after new customers? At this point, marketing's lack of lead generation gets recycled as the excuse. Innocently, you mention the C word. Shock, horror, and pity drains the blood from the sales director's face. Don't you know, Story-san? This is Japan. You can't do cold calling here. Case closed. Well, having been through this scenario a number of times here over the last 20 years, and having also seen plenty of cold calling getting done, skeptical doesn't even come close to describing my reaction to this useful intervention to explain the finer points of Japan to me. Walking into a new organization with a crystal clear recollection of salespeople in the previous company, phones taped to their hands so they could get through their cold calls, always concentrates my mind in these circumstances. What is usually meant is not that you can't physically cold call companies here, but just the effectiveness is so low it is a major waste of time. This is too true when the cold calling is done poorly. Curiously, the same experts who tell you that you can't cold call accept the tobikomi technique of just dropping in unexpectedly. Why suddenly turning up at a couple of companies and dropping off some business cards and literature in a day is thought to be more effective than sitting at a desk and calling 100 prospects is a quaint curiosity to me. This always reminds me of the same arguments you hear about you can't get referrals in Japan. Don't you know anyone who might be interested in our widget? Must be one of the most criminal statements to ever escape from a salesperson's lips. The problem is when the way you ask is rubbish, don't be surprised with a pathetic outcome or result. Design is critical to increasing the success rate from cold calling and referrals. Amazingly, hardly any salespeople ever plan their conversations. They just sashay from one failure to another, wondering why this approach doesn't work. Cold calling works much better when we are very clear about the outcome we can expect to achieve. There are products and services you can sell over the phone. However, they are very, 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 very few. The main aim The phone call should be securing a face-to-face appointment. That means you're only selling a date and a time over the phone, nothing more. Before you even get to that point, you need to be speaking to the person who has the diary spot you want a piece of. There are armies of hapless young Japanese women occupying the bottom rungs of the machine, whose only joy in life is getting rid of salespeople trying to see the decision maker. If you are persistent, then they have this great technique of passing you over to the next most senior male in their section, which means they are still pretty junior. Usually some spotty-faced, no authority nobody, completely afraid of their own shadow and seemingly about to go into a future retirement without ever having had to make a decision in their entire career. This is where you need to have a blockbuster credibility statement that summarizes who you are, why you are calling, and why speaking to their boss will change the world. Design is everything. By the way, you only have to design the one credibility statement because you can use the same one on their boss. You might refer to some recent research you would like to share, which will be a big help to their business now and into the future. You should mention that you can't share it over the phone because you need to show it to them to head off the "well, tell me now" or "email it to me" comebacks. You might mention that you recently came across some ideas that seem to be working extremely well for others in their industry. If possible, mention actual numbers that you can later provide as concrete evidence when you meet. You need to refer to the cost of not speaking with you, the opportunity cost of not investing 30 minutes with you. Fear of loss is often a strong driver of action in some, more so than greed or gain. Only ever ask for 30 minutes. Less sounds flaky and more sounds burdensome. Asking for 18 minutes or 23 minutes, etc. sounds like you are a total con man, and warning lights and bells will go off in their head. If you can't convince them face-to-face in 30 minutes to hear more, stop wasting everyone's time and get off to the next prospect. Often, you go into a short meeting because the prospect is super busy and has absolutely no time, can hardly even spare 15 minutes, and you can find yourself discussing your solutions for the next 90 minutes. This only happens, though, because you have something very credible to say and which will get them interested. So, yes, cold calling is tough everywhere. Yes, cold calling is tough in Japan. Yes, it has a relatively low hit rate, but in some cases, it is still a viable source of leads, and it shouldn't be dismissed, and it shouldn't be relegated to the impossible basket. Target the companies carefully that you want to go after. Work on a good designed intro to get their attention. Make it credible. Only ask for a short 30 minutes of their time and work on the basis that if what you're saying in the first 30 minutes is sufficiently interesting, they will elongate that meeting because they will want to hear more, or if they are pressed for time that day, they will be open to having you come back and meet with them again. So good luck with cold calling. It is possible. It can work. It is not foolproof, but it is still one more arrow in the quiver of your arsenal of sales tools, technologies, and techniques, and it should not be neglected. Thank you for joining the Leadership Japan podcast. Remember to access your Dale Kennedy Training free white papers, guidebooks, training videos, blogs, course information, plus much, much more, then go to japan.dalecarnegie.com.